So this is where I was. So no matter what your problem is, it should be solved by a screen or an app. So
Okay.
in my experience, it's something I've noticed most of the time when there's a problem or like there's a friction or there's an issue, maybe the users are complaining about something about the app. We notice that maybe it's just confusing. There's something they are doing and there's so much information is confusing. So sometimes you even have to take out things so that it's easy for them to use the product or to use the app. Right. Also, even in real life, the the fact that you see a problem doesn't mean you should design an app for it. Just today, I mentioned earlier that I heard an interesting thing how there's this guy who is in charge of a public washroom, and now he says he wants to go digital. So before you use the washroom, you have to enter your details. He has an app, so you enter your details and all. But people are, when people come to a washroom, they're probably in a hurry, and someone wants to do their best to get into the washroom as soon as possible so that you don't create a whole mess. And now you're telling them that they should provide their names, their phone numbers. What are you using that information for? Just because you say you're going digital. His goal is probably to have a better record of maybe the money coming in and all those stuff. But if you are going digital, it doesn't necessarily mean go and create an app or something, but something simple that will not be so much of a burden for the user or the person who comes to use a washroom. The person gives you your money. I don't know why you need their name, whether you want to run promos with them after they've used your washroom, but you can just take their name or even just identify that, okay, someone came to use the washroom, they paid X amount, you gave them this change, this is the balance left. That is enough information, right? You can do this on paper, you can do this in a book. There's advantage of going digital, but probably at the end of the day, then you move this to maybe you can record this into like a digital system. But when people are in a hurry and your phone, you're not entering, maybe your internet is slow and all those stuff. So the person has to be waiting for you to finish all this data entry. Right. So just to say the fact that you don't just say when there's a problem, oh, you need an app for it. Sometimes it's human behavior. So that's the thing about UX, or even when we do the research and all this, I want to understand people. Like, even in our space, there are kind of people behave some way, like they behave differently towards certain things. So it's not about just bringing an app. And sometimes you have to understand why um, people are behaving this way. Some time back, someone tweeted, a foreigner came to Ghana and was surprised that when Ghanaians, when it rains in Ghana, people don't move about. And she was like, it's a shock. It's a culture shock to her because where she's from, when it rains, like you still people still moving about in their cars and all those stuff, walking, holding an umbrella or something. And then someone replied and said, "Oh, we understand you, but something happened sometime. There was a disaster where there was this heavy rain and wasn't it in quotes a disaster sort of where people lost their lives and all those stuff. So there's this thing where Ghanaians are skeptical to move out when it's raining. Like it's kind of like a shock to us. Like it's something that has affected us. So some way, somehow, when it starts raining heavy and all those stuff, we prefer to be wherever we are than to be moving. Right? Something like this, someone just get up and say he's come to design an app to convince people to be moving about or probably even order cars and all this stuff. But something you should understand why the people are holding back to moving about, right? Even maybe if you try and even do promos within that time to encourage people to move about, they'll still won't. And you'll be wondering why the people are not using your app. Right? It's because of like some behaviors or some cultures or certain things that has influenced the people's cultures or behavior, right? So just to say, the fact that you see any problem doesn't mean, oh, we should design an app for it. Sometimes understand the problem, understand the users more, understand their main struggles, then you can say, oh, maybe this is more of a behavioral thing. So let's see how we can change their behaviors. If you want to change their behaviors using an app, cool. But it may not always be an app. You get it. And the last thing, just to summarize everything, is UI and UX should focus on user goals. Like when you are designing, whatever you are doing, it should have a purpose. And the purpose is that you want to help the user achieve something. Uber's goal is to help people move from one place to the other. WhatsApp goal is to help people send messages across. So even when they are designing features, like, so if the feature, maybe now you're able to send text message. I also want people to communicate maybe using voice notes, or so they can record their voice and send it. We want people to even send videos. You get it. So these are some of the things. So when you have a user goal, then you design towards the goal. Basically that. So this is the end of the second section. The third section, which is quite short, is basically the designer's eye. So now that we are all starting, we all want to get into UI, UX, or at least we just want to get familiar with the space. How do we train our eyes to become that of a designer's eye, or to have that of a designer's eye? So I just listed 4 things. Take a second look. So now whenever you are going around or moving about, take a second look at stuff, right? When you're using an app, take a second look at it. This is what will make you stand out as a designer, right? So you will start seeing things that the ordinary people are not seeing. You get it? Someone will see this, I'm like, okay, I can see one text, I can see some text here and all this stuff. But as a designer, you'll be like, oh, I can see some pattern, some dot in the background. I can see that this one, the font weight is a bit thicker and bigger than this one. I can see there's some arrow here that is pointing to like the next. So trying to say that go to the next. You get it? So now, whenever you're looking at stuff, whenever you're doing things, right, take a second look at it. It's not even just apps. When you're moving about, an example is I went to Accra Mall sometime and it rained in the evening. It was around 7. It rained and people were just stuck in the mall. So funny enough, there was no sitting area. The only sitting areas is at the food court. There used to be some small benches like in the walkway, but for some reason they removed them. So there are no sitting areas. And where they sell the food, that's the food court, they have their chairs and tables over there. But when you sit there, the waiters will approach you and tell you to buy something. You can't just sit there. So you have elderly people standing because it's also raining. A lot of people are just standing in the mall. Like old people are standing, people with trolleys, they bought a lot of stuff, holding rubber bags, and they're just standing there. Like you can't go and sit anywhere. As a designer, like this is a bad experience. So you can even draft like a shopping experience. So like shopping experience is someone drives to the mall. Where can they park their car? Where can they go to get a trolley? Can they move with the trolley from one shop to the another if they have a lot of things? If maybe they are waiting for someone or for some reason they have to spend longer hours or minutes in the shopping mall, do they have an area that they can even sit? Right? Do they have an area where maybe they can even go and put their stuff somewhere so that they can move freely in the mall? Like these are experiences. You notice it has nothing to do with an app, but this is an experience. A similar thing I noticed in there's a new WIEC building somewhere at Airport Residential. And when they're writing exams, you see a lot of people by the roadside and people have parked cars and you're wondering why a lot of people sitting outside, like just because they don't have an area for people to sit. When like there's another set of people inside writing the exam, there's no area for people to just sit and maybe revise their notes and all. So they're all sitting outside by the roadside. It's a bad experience. So as designers, I mean, I like to encourage people that we should look at things, not just the digital, because you get a lot of inspiration when you look at the world as a whole, like your environment as a whole. You are looking around, you are seeing colors. That's me, most of the things, that's what I do. I like to look at buildings, I like to look at furniture, like the things around us, even the dresses we wear. I draw inspirations from the colors. Sometimes you see someone's color combination, like, oh, this color combination there is hard. You come and use it in your design. Like, Charlie, people see your designs like, Charlie, your colors are nice. So, right. So these things help. Let's see design from a broader perspective. Let's see user experience from a broader perspective. You are going to what's the name? apply for passport or something, like the experience you go through, that whole process you go through, right? Is it okay? Is it the best? Can it be improved? Right. So this is basically, let's take a second look at stuff. Right. The second point is note the differences, the similarities, and the uniqueness in stuff. If you visit websites like this, you notice that, hey, this website, they're using this color. This is how they're using the color. They have a nav bar. See their buttons. Their buttons, the edges, the corners are round. Are these people, their corners are sharp? Ah, you notice the differences. Like now you take WhatsApp now. Now when from after
Yo,
this,
Graham.
okay, someone's hand is up. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Please, are you showing your screen or this one is just a talking session?
Wait, I'm not presenting. Oh my goodness.
Oh, oh,
I'm really sorry.
Actually, why I raised my hand for this one, I wanted to prompt you.
I'm really sorry. So it's a slide. So okay, so let me start. So this is the slide. So I'm on the second slide. I'm really sorry. All right. So the first one is take a second look, and the first one is take a second look. Then the second one is note the differences, the similarities. So when you go to a website and all those stuff, what are the differences? The button is sharp and all those stuff. You look at Zoom. Zoom is a video conferencing app. There's also Google Meet, right? There's also Skype. What are the differences? What are their uniqueness? They may have similar features, right? But the way their experiences are different. The way Zoom will allow you to record, maybe Skype, you have to do something else, or even Skype doesn't have that. You get it? Then the third one is ask questions. When you are looking at it, when you are seeing the similarities, ask questions. How are they doing this? Why are they doing this? This slide that he has done, how is he able to have the dot or that small little pattern at the background? How is he able to make this fonts bold and all those stuff? Why is he doing it in the first place? Or why? Sometimes you may not get to interact with the person who actually did it, but having that conversation with yourself at least sparks that curiosity. And next time you can even maybe go and do a Google search. If you have the chance to even get to see or interact with the person who designed it, you ask the person those questions. You get it. And the last one is practice. Like that, I will always stress on it. Practice. That is how you can be good, right? So you practice, and this, as we are starting, the best way to practice is what? Replicate good designs. So we'll be replicating a lot of designs moving forward. We want to learn from the best. There's WhatsApp, there's Facebook, there's Instagram. We'll take a screenshot, and then we try and replicate ditto, right? This is how we train your eyes to see things from a designer's perspective. You notice that the ordinary person will see stuff and like, they may not even pay attention to the little stuff. But when you see, you're like, this one, it looks a bit off. The arrangement is not really, the things are not aligned. What is wrong? Like, when you start asking yourself that, I'm not saying go and be cocky and start saying, oh, this is not nice. You didn't do this way, you didn't do this way. But just that curiosity. Start asking yourself, why is it this? Why is it that his designs he put something here and he gives like the title. Do I give the title here, but I also make sure to add the title here. Just when you see the slide, you know what I'm talking about. You get it. So these are things, just ask yourself questions, right? Take a second look at stuff, note the differences, the similarities, right? And at the end of the day, practice. As much as you go out there, you will learn stuff, you read articles, you read books. The actual work is you doing it, practice. So now practice, we are replicating stuff, right? So the last bit is design, right? So I like to do, as I said, as we learn, we want to also practice, right? So this is the task we can all pick up maybe the weekend. Today is Friday, so probably from after the call to maybe then our next meeting, you can try and practice this. This is one design I like to recommend people to practice. Let me just go to the web page itself. So I have Pinterest here. So they have a beautiful website, right? I like the fact that the site is in sections. If I scroll a little bit, you see another section will come. It fills the whole page, right? So the task I would like to give everyone is, let's try and replicate the Pinterest website, right? So it's about 4 sections. So let me just help you note.
Is there Is the animation included?
No, for now, don't bother about the animations. If you can do the animations, then cool. But for now, let's just focus on like the layout. So you can just take a screenshot, right, of it. So I'll share the link in the group so that you can all have access to it, right? So it has about 4 sections. So this followed by this, followed by this, and then followed by this one. Right. So if you notice, the button here is different, right? You see it has round buttons. The input fields are different. In the next sections, we'll go through components so you get to know what an input field is, what buttons are, and how they are supposed to work, right? So that's for another session. But to end this particular session, I would like us to try and replicate this, right? I can help you break down this first hero section. So mostly if I want to replicate stuff, I take a screenshot of it, right? So I've just created the various sections. I've taken some screenshots of it. It's even here. I have it at the bottom here. Yeah. So I have the screenshots and I try to replicate it ditto, right? So I'll try and take the next probably 10 minutes. So you see how I replicate the first section, the hero section, right? So let me just bring back. I'll try not to use any advanced stuff. So it'll just be simple stuff. While I'm doing this, right, you can raise your hand, stop me. How am I doing this? How am I doing that? Right? You can ask any question, feel free. So this is a screenshot. If I click, you can see that it's an image, right? So I know Maka has taken you through the basics, but I'll do well to talk through them, right? So if there's anything, you can. So I want to take a frame because this is a web page, right? So I want to take a frame. So frame is here. This when you come to the top right. So the shortcut is F. So when you click on it or you press F, you notice that on your right panel, it changes. So Figma has helped define some of the sizes for the frame. So if you want something for desktop, phone, and all those stuff, is it? So this is desktop, right? So you can choose the various ones that you want. I like to go with this desktop, yeah, right? Or let me try and see if 16 is the same width. Right. So let me just go with desktop. So now I look at the design, right? I try to break them into parts. So I know this is like a nav bar. It's called navigation bar, right? So this top section, right? So it has the Pinterest logo here. Then it also has some text, maybe about business, blog, and the buttons here, right? So that is one. Then the next section, or the same section, we have like some text here. You notice the text is bigger, right? Then it also has some dots here, so some 4 dots here. And then you also have the images here. Also notice there's some button here that when I click on it, it scrolls to the bottom. Then there's this bar and it has, yes, how it works, right? So in the images and the white background. So I've noted it sometimes you can even write the stuff down so that you don't forget. So I'll start with the first bit, right, in the nav bar. So first, let me just change the name. So if you want to even change the name of the frame, I noticed Maka showed you can double click or right click to choose rename, right? Where is rename here? You can rename it. Or once you just double click, it will you can type anything here. Or if you click on the frame, you notice there's some text here, right? If you double click on it, it can just let you type here, right? You can type in rename it. So I've changed it to landing. You notice that this has also changed, right? So I know there's an icon, the Pinterest icon here. So I don't have the icon yet, right? So maybe I'll just represent it with a circle, right? And just make it, let's say 50. And you notice this thing here, so constrain proportions. So it's like, if I change just the height here, to 60. You notice that it's just the height that changed, but the width didn't change. You get it? So if I undo, if I click on this thing, constraint properties, and I change the height to 50, it will affect the width. So it gives me the same, so 50, 50 here, right? And I know there's a text Pinterest here, so that is also, I'll ignore it for now because it's actually a logo, it's part of the logo. So I want to focus on the text here. So I'll just press T, I come and click here. Then I look for, I change the size to, let's say 14. So let me just start about, right? So let me just change this to okay. Okay, so I have my about here. I also have business. So with business, if I want to create a duplicate of the about, so I hold option and I click and drag, or I think on Windows is Alt, right? So I create a business. If I want to create a duplicate again, I can create a shortcut is Control D or Command D. It creates a duplicate and I drag it and make this block. Right. Then the next one is login. Login, then there's also what sign up. All right, cool. So notice the login has a how do you call it, a red background, and the sign up has something like a gray background. So I don't have to use advanced. I almost use an advanced thing. Okay, so there's this thing called auto layout, right? Which I'll just make mention of it and I'll not use it. So when a shortcut for auto layout is Shift A. So it creates a frame around the text. So if you look here, it creates a frame, right? It's an advanced feature. One of the sessions, I'll take you to it, but I'll not use it. Yeah, so I'll just take, let's say, a rectangle here and put the color is, let me pick the color. So one way to pick the color, sorry, the color is for the rectangle. One way to pick the color is when you select the object, right? And you click on this color here. And you click on this color here. You see this icon? Yeah, so it picks the color. So the eyedropper, it's called the eyedropper icon. You can just click on it, right? Then I reduce, notice this has sharp edges or sharp corners. I want it to be round. So when I click on it, if you come to the far right here, corner radius. So I make this, let's say 32, right? Then I bring this text, I bring it forward. Right, so if I want to bring this forward, the shortcut is Control, then the bracket, the close bracket. I bring it forward. Make the text white. So I select this. I select the two of them. Make sure it's in the middle. So align, then also in the middle. Right, can put it in the group. So that's right click. So group selection. Right, so it's here. Right, so the same thing, I can do the same thing for sign up. Let me change the text to sign up. You notice this, the text is starting from the left, right? So I can select it and make it center. Right, so let me do sign up. If I zoom close, you see there's more space to the right than the left. So I select the text and also the rectangle. Then I come here, center it. So center this. You get it. But the sign up color is gray, so I can click on it and select this. Then the text is a shortcut is if you want to get the eyedropper to select a color, right? So if you press I, it will come. Then you can just go to the element. You notice that on the right, Figma zooms in for you to be able to pick the exact color, right? So you notice that now I have my sign up and my listing. So now I can just take all of them. Yeah. Once you select something, right, you notice this thing that Figma, there's this blue square with some three lines. It helps you align stuff. So when you click on it, it gives you the same space in between stuff. Or if you like, when you select on elements like this, if you come here, you notice that there's 40 here. So that is the space between the items. So 40, which is fine. I want all of them to be in the middle. So I use the same thing again. So now I take it, then I drag it to the far right. There's something called grids, which I mostly use in my design. So it helps me in layouts, right? So let me just do a quick, maybe one of the days I'll take you through it. So this is column. I mostly use 12 grid. My margin is 144, and this is 24. Right. So mostly helps in responsive design. Right. So I can put my logo. I want everything to start from and put here. So this is because if the screen is wider, so there may be more space here, but you notice that there's no space here. So I can still choose to extend this. Right. Also extend this. I can group the ones at the top here, top right. So right click, then group. It's already in a group. Okay, I already put it in a group. Really? No, I didn't. Why is it telling me on group? Let me just put it in a group. Command G. So it's in a group. So I call this list item. Okay. So once I have this in the group, so I also move it here. So if you want to know the space between a selection and maybe another object, right? So you press Alt or Option. So I put it here, I notice that the space between the edge here and this is 62, which is fine. I also want to make sure that the space between this and the edge is also 62. This is showing me 53. So let me move it to the right more. Okay, so now I have 62. So now I also make sure that this and this are in the middle. So I put it in the middle, right? So that is it for my nav bar. You get it. So if you have you can go and get the Pinterest logo, right? And just come and place it here, right? I can quickly just I have less than 5 minutes and just get this done. Get your next. Then the next step is week 9 inner idea. So you notice that this text is smaller compared to this one. So I just select this, maybe increase it to 48. This one also be 48. I select the two, then always, I use this a lot just to help me in my design, right? Then the space between is bigger than this one. So I'll come here and reduce it. Maybe I'll make this 16, right? So now I want the color. So I take this, click on this, press I, come and inspect this one, click on the black. I take the second text, press I, come and click on this. Right, so I have this. Okay, the week is small W. Right. You notice it. So a quick way to also draw my images, I'll just do something fast here. So I click on this rectangle and change you notice that the edges are a bit round, right? If you like, one thing I always encourage people is, see, if you like, you want to do detail, if you really want to be good with the design, you can bring your thing to the image and reduce the opacity. It will help you become a very good designer. If you want to use the exact shape, right, you can do this. Make sure that it's the same. Then you reduce to see. So now we make this 16. The edges, it's almost the same. Perfect. So I copy and come and put it here. Very distant pass. I bring it here. Okay. Then I duplicate. So I'll create as many as I can. So I look at the way they arrange it. So 1, 2. So I take one here, then bring one here, right? So it's at the top. So it's above the get or this thing. So I'll just bring it up a bit. Let me reduce the height small. You get it? So it looks like it's just me duplicating these two. I hold this thing and maybe bring it down a bit. So you notice that when you are doing this thing, you may struggle with this, the overlapping stuff. You notice when you bring it out, when you bring it down, then it comes out of it, right? Please let me share this tip. So if you are working within the frame, so you notice this rectangle. So this is called rectangle 5, right? It's good to name it, right? But because I'm rushing through it, I don't want us to exceed the time now. So because when you are dragging, right, you notice that it is within the landing frame, but when you drag it to the bottom, it comes out. It comes out of it. So if you want to keep it within the frame, when you are pulling it down or you're dragging it down, hold space, the space bar and drag it. You notice that it doesn't come out, right? So this is one trick. So I would like to end here, not to take too much of your time. If there are any questions, we can have them. I don't want us to join the call again. So yeah, thank you all for joining. And are there any questions?
Oh, okay. Fifi, thanks so much
Yeah,
for your
welcome.
time. Yeah, I think when Maka introduced us to this course, I went to LinkedIn to search for people who are into this, and you were first to appear. And I started following. I never knew you were too close to me. Thanks so much.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Collins has his hand up. I know we have a couple
Yeah,
of seconds.
yeah,
So
yeah, Graham.
if it ends,
Thanks
I will
for a
join the
very
call. So don't worry. I will join again. But if you don't, yeah, so don't worry. So you go ahead.
Okay, thanks for a very wonderful presentation. I think I really enjoyed it today. Uh, I wanted to ask about the grouping, with the